Hi, Wycliffe Barrett, Xplane dedicated. Today the weather is absolutely dreadful here at Cardiff. Seems like a good day to do a review of Xenviro. See you right after the intro.
Good 2,000 feet.
So I'm going to do a review of Xenviro. Now, I'm not going to do a comparison, I'm just doing a straight review of a product. The weather here today in the real world at Cardiff is absolutely dreadful, so it seems like a good idea for me to fire up the sim and load it up at Cardiff because I can see what's going on outside in the real world. Let's see what it's like in the simulator. We'll get right into it now, and I'll take you through my short flight from Cardiff to Manchester. Here we have Xenviro then. We're in Xplane 10. I'm on the ground at Cardiff. This is real time, and the weather here in Cardiff today is absolutely terrible. It's been the same all day. Right now as I'm recording this, we've still got the same conditions as rain and heavy cloud. As you can see, here's the configuration panel, and the configuration panel is split into 4 areas. So you've got weather settings on the left, you've got cloud settings next to that, atmosphere settings, and then sound settings. Now what I've done here is I've kind of more or less gone full or real in each section, so this is more or less the full settings for Xenviro. It's really easy to install. It comes with an installer. It's really quite simple, but you do need to be aware that it does not work with some things. It is completely incompatible with a number of different things. So it's incompatible with Sky Max Pro, Real Weather X, Real Weather Pro, Max FX, Real Weather Connector, Sound Max, FS Global Real Weather, XNOAA Weather, Fly with Lure, RTH script, Ventura Sky, Blue Sky, and any other scripts simulating weather conditions. So you need to be aware of that, and you shouldn't have any of those on your sim. I had a number of them on my sim, and I had to get rid of them all, put them into the disabled folders plugin. So I've just called up the METAR for Cardiff. So here we've got the METAR, and as you can see, it's not very good. Light showers of rain, and I have to say this is the first time that I've seen rain in Xplane for a long time. And when I mean see rain, actually be able to see it from in the cockpit or even outside, actually see it falling. The Xplane default rain, not very good at all. You could see it if you was lucky. More often than not, you couldn't. So, you know, that is a bonus. Basically, it is a bonus that you can actually see the rain. I'm just going up through the cloud here, so I'm just going straight up, and, you know, I kind of like that. You know, you go through cloud there, you can see different bits, and here we are at the top of the cloud. Now I will say straight off that I think what is required is more 3D clouds. So what we've got here, we've got an area of flat cloud, and then obviously a weather front there where you can see higher density clouds, 3D clouds. Overall though, I really kind of like what I'm looking at. I'm not saying that it's bad. It isn't. It's not bad at all. And in terms of frame rates, it seems to be a heck of an improvement on frame rates. So this is just quickly going up to an altitude and having a look at the clouds just around Cardiff at this time in real time. So I think what we should do is we should do a departure, and during the departure we can have a look at the weather. So I'm taxiing down to runway 30 here. You can see the rain hitting the cockpit windows, and if you look closely you'll see the rain streaking past as we come down to runway 30 here at Cardiff. Now, looking out of my window in the real world, and I live approximately 15 minutes away from the airport, the conditions I'm seeing out of my window are exactly the same as what I'm seeing here. So in terms of weather depiction, Xenviro is kind of hitting the nail on the head right now. It looks very good. I'm not too sure about that effect there of the wipers clearing the rain. It looks a little bit, what's the word I'm looking at? It's a bit too quick. You know, the rain coming back onto the cockpit windows is a little bit too fast, but you've got rain going up the cockpit windows as we get faster and faster. So here we are rotating. We're in the A320. We're in the A320, and we're just going to do a flight to Manchester. Once again, I kind of like what I'm seeing. You look out to the left there, and you've got that visibility visibility issue there, which is really very accurate. I've done a lot of flying in my life, and I've flown out of Cardiff airports in good weather and bad weather, and I would say that that is fairly accurate. As we keep climbing now and in the turn towards Brecon, this external view shows us that there isn't much visibility around the aircraft. If, to be quite honest, a couple of miles if that.
Not okay for next flaps position.
So right now we're going through cloud. As you can see, the different gradations of grey as we go through cloud, and that is very realistic. Anybody who's been on a flight flying through cloud, you'll recognize that. You know, when you look out of the cockpit window, you kind of go in and out of cloud.
Check. Flaps 0.
And you see it even better here as we look out of the cockpit window, and you can see the cloud going by there, and that gives you a real sense of speed. I must admit, there's a sense of speed there that I haven't seen for some time in any simulator, but that is very good. So we're coming up to our turn, heading towards Brecon now, I believe, away from the coast. So, you know, nice depiction, but once again, there is an element of flatness. Now, this is version 1.0, and I'm pretty sure that that's going to get better as time goes on. So let's go to the press release and see what the press release says for Xenviro. It was created for Xplane 10 and 11 as a result of a number of years' effort from high-level engineers and programmers of commercial systems. So they've been creating this over a number of years. Xenviro replaces the default Xplane environment, making it more realistic. And some of the features is that it loads real-time meteorological data with download intervals from 5 up to 60 minutes. I've got it on 5 minutes, I think. And it will take into account the following factors: wind direction and speed on the ground and aloft, temperature, turbulence areas, icing areas, and dangerous phenomena, so that's thunderstorms and wind shear. It simulates visual effects of different types of precipitation and phenomena, so you'll have rain showers, snow and fog. It will simulate visual raindrops effects on windshields in both 2D and 3D cockpits. It'll simulate in-cloud visual effects, and also simulate visual effects of shades and aircraft lighting in cloud, strobe lights, beacon lights, navigation lights, landing lights. There's landing lights, screen effect during in-cloud and foggy flight, volumetric lights effect, simulate lightning on cloud surface from cities lights, high detail cloud shapes of yet which I have to see, custom cloud density and range, and simulate realistic braking action effects. And there's quite a few other things as well: display saturation, color, gamma and cloud density depending on weather conditions and time of day, blah blah. So at the moment though, I will say one thing I'm not happy with is that I think the clouds are too bright. Now in the interface you can turn them down, and turn them down quite a lot, but even turning the cloud brightness to 0 I don't think is enough. It's still very very bright, and it can be in the real world. When you get above the clouds it can almost be blinding white in the real world, but because of, shall we say, the 3D quality of cloud, you get a sense of depth perception which you're not getting fully here, and that's the problem. So as we fly here you see this kind of white blanket layer which looks great, and you know there's a hole in the weather there so you can see down to the ground. That looks great, but there's still this lack of depth perception, and that's what I want to see, and I'm not seeing. So what else? It has a user-friendly interface, and it does, although you need to read the manual to kind of figure out what each thing does. You'll notice as I go through different times of the day, I think dusk, the clouds look best at dusk. as I was saying, the interface is not that user friendly, but it's still good. You need to read the manual to find out what each thing does, what each setting has, what effect each setting has. Sorry, I'm getting myself all tongue-tied there. It uses its own cloud and sky textures along with its own sound library. It does not require installation of third-party products or libraries, and is fully ready to use after installation, which is true. The one thing that did catch me out, and that was I'd unloaded all of the SkyMax products and RTH and everything, but I left one thing in, which was Sound. I think it was SoundMax, and what happened was that when I was on the ground, everything was flashing. It was like a flash, and as I say, it was just a case of removing SoundMax and RTH as well, because that's not needed, it's just not required. So I think so far that's about as much as I want to say right now, so I think we'll have a little bit of music and then we'll come back to it as I descend towards Manchester. So we're descending down into Manchester, as you can see, as we come through the cloud layers once again, we've got this effect of flying through cloud. and you can see the cloud going past the cockpit windows in different ways, light and dark, and I think that is, I've said it before we had the music interlude, that I think that's really a great effect. It looks really, really good. Here you can see the aircraft from outside as we go through that cloud layer, and clearly, we can't see the aircraft at all. So overall, I think it's very, very good. There are a number of things that I'm not happy with. You may have seen during the music interlude, as we're flying over, you see clouds kind of popping up and shapes forming, as opposed to being a smooth transition in cloud formation. It was like just popping up and becoming bigger. But you look at this on approach into Manchester now, I mean, it really does look good. I am very impressed with what I see, I have to say. There are a couple of things wrong, or not wrong, a couple of things that need work, and that is there needs to be more depth, more perception of depth, especially when you're flying above the cloud. I would like to see that, although we have seen some of it in some of the weather fronts and cloud fronts. I would like to see the clouds turned down. The brightness is just too much. I would like to see some shadow and depth and grey and what have you, and then I think it would be really, really good. The interface is good, but it needs a little bit more kind of explanation, maybe tooltips or something when people click on things, because clearly what will happen is people will install it, they will not read the manual, and then they'll wonder what everything does. Just before we land here, I suppose we should talk about the recommended system requirements, and it's saying Windows 10, Xplane 1050 or Xplane 11, quad-core processor with a minimum of 3 GHz, 4 GB of RAM, DirectX 10 or 11 compatible video card with 2 GB of RAM on the video card, and 100 megabytes of free space on the hard drive or SSD. So those system requirements are pretty slim. You don't need a huge, massive machine to run Xenviro. So I think, without further ado, we'll just continue to watch this landing into Manchester. And my comments are really that it's good. It needs a lot of work, but it's good. And I will stand by my original comments about the cost. I think $70 for this product is way too much in one go. Some people have been saying, well, if you add up the cost of all of the upgrades for the other product, then it's coming to the same thing. It may well do, but to pay this amount of money in one go is an awful lot for a lot of people to bear. I think if they'd made it $30, $35, that would have been a lot fairer, and a lot more people would be buying it at that price than the $70. But that's my personal opinion. I know a number of people who can afford to buy this, and even for them, $70 in one hit seems to be an awful lot. Anyway, enough of that. My recommendation is, if you like what you see here in this video, then go and get it. This is version 1. I know that the team at Xenviro are working on version 1.1, and it's being beta tested. I've spoken to some of the beta testers, and some of the things that I've mentioned in this review are certainly being fixed in version 1.1. I think it's version 1.1 that's going to be coming out. It's a good product, and I think it will get better, but I still think it's too expensive at $70.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard.
Decel, spoilers full. Reverse screen.
Many thanks to the guys at Xenviro for sending me a copy to review for them. I put it on YouTube as I said I would, and for all of you who are wondering whether to get it or not get it, I hope this review has been of some use to you. I'm not going to make any comparisons with any other product. I think it stands alone on its own merit as the as it should do. As always, my name is Wycliffe Barrett. This is Xplane Dedicated, and we'll see you all again soon in the near future. We're just going to finish off with a number of screenshots from my first flight yesterday, which was around Innsbruck. In fact, actually, I'll say a few things about this. I mean, I think the fog effect there looks absolutely superb in the valleys. That's absolutely superb. It looks great, but it's hard to make any other comment about this because the weather was very clear at Innsbruck when I took these images. So it's hard to say anything else other than the fog in the valleys looks great. I haven't seen anything like that for quite some time. Here you see, as I fly over the mountains, some weather fronts, and then this one is interesting because you've got puffy clouds below and then cirrus above. But then we go into this kind of flat layer of cloud, which, you know, it's not right. This was a flight that I did from Innsbruck to Cardiff, so this was my first flight in it, and these flat clouds here, no, they don't turn me on at all. So they need more depth and more perception. Anyway, there we go. As I say, it's Wycliffe Barrett, Xplane Dedicated. I hope you all have a great Christmas, a great holiday, and whatever you do, have fun and be nice.
Yeah.